My name is Vanessa, and we are going to start making videos for my Cooking with Character channel, and this is the first one, which is not food related, but that's okay. It's kind of food related. We're going to make a wood conditioning butter to be used on like wooden spoons and cutting boards and things, and I actually have a cutting board that I got at the DAV thrift store, which has seen really a lot of better days. I don't know if it's easy to see or not on here, but it's really beat up. So I'm going to actually sand this because when I tried to wipe it down, I ended up with splinters in the cloth. So we're going to sand it with coarse grit and then fine grit sandpaper, and then we'll try and put the wood butter on. But the wood butter is really easy, so I am going to show you how to do that. It's 2 ingredients. I'm also using a pan that I was going to get rid of. That way I don't have to worry about, even though I'm using things that are food safe. It's beeswax and fractionated coconut oil. I figured I didn't want to have to worry about getting all the beeswax out of the pan, to be honest with you. If it gets used for beeswax things, if there's a little bit of residue left, it won't hurt anything, because I'm not using it for food anyway. So I'm going to move the camera around and we'll show you what we're doing. Okay, so I have got this over low heat. You can do this in a double boiler. I'm lazy and I just don't want to have to, and since I don't care about the pan, it's fine if it just goes over low heat. Just don't go too high, you don't want to scorch anything. So I am using 8 ounces of this fractionated coconut oil. I already had it from something else, so I'm using 8 ounces because I had already used half the bottle. And then I am using 2 ounces of beeswax pellets. Now you can use a chunk of beeswax and just, put the chunk in there, break it up, however you want to do it. I had these pastilles because I had bought them for lip balm and soap making and stuff. Oops, sorry. So these are a whole lot easier to melt down. They just don't take as long because they're little tiny pieces. So we are gonna dump everything in here together. And again, it's all food safe, so we're just using an old spatula that I'll wash later. I'm really just being lazy with the pan. You could use a wooden spoon since you're going to rub it on wooden spoons anyway, but whatever makes you happy. And I'm going to put it in, I have a mason jar that's kind of an odd size. I don't have any more of these because it was something somebody, I think, gifted me for Christmas one year. So we're going to put it in there, and then I'll just put an extra lid on. And we are just going to wait and have this melt down, and then I will come back and show you the next step. Okay, so everything is melted. We've gone from having a sea of little white dots in there to, nothing. So we are going to empty this pour it into our jar, and if I don't have enough room in the jar, then I have an extra jam jar, like a Smucker's jam jar. Okay, I have put down a piece of freezer paper because I'm a messy person, and I don't want to pour this into something else to pour it into here because that seems silly. So I'm just going to pour it in. And then I actually have too much, so I have an old jam jar, and we're just going to pour it in here. It means that later I'll have to get a spoon or something to get it out, but that's not that big a deal. Now we have to let this sit and cool off, and then while those things are cooling off, I am going to sand my cutting board and get everything out that I want to use this on, because I'm actually going to do all of my wooden spoons and things today because they all need it. So I will come back when all of this has set up some. Okay, so my wood butter has solidified. It's still a little bit warm, but I'm going to go ahead and use it. I've got my freezer paper down because this is what my cutting board looks like after I have taken, ignore the baby in the background, I used 80 grit sandpaper first. And then I did it, this is a little bit of butter I got on the bottom. And then I took 220, whoever, it was a thrift store purchase, whoever used it, they used it well. I'm not sure, I really sanded this a lot and I can still see marks, but we're going to see how much the butter will take out. But it's pretty smooth. I've gone over it with a damp cloth just to get any leftover sawdust, sandy, sandpaper, dust, whatever, off of it. And I'm just going to use my hands because why not? You can use, you could use a paper towel or a cloth or something to do this, but we're just going to use my hand. And I'm going to put this on pretty thick because I'm going to let it sit overnight once we get it all covered. And then I will buff it out in the morning. If I had started earlier in the day, you could probably just like do it in the morning, buff them out at night, be done. But it's pretty late in the afternoon at this point after making the butter and everything. So probably you should do the bottom first and not do what I did and do the top first, because that would have made life a little bit easier. But the freezer paper was there, so at least it's not all over the counter, which is a good thing. Alright, so it looks really messy because it is really messy, but we're going to let this sit overnight and I will come back tomorrow and buff everything out. And we'll see how this looks after it's been buffed out and everything. I'm going to buff out, please excuse the dishwasher noise. I'm just going to buff out all of the, I left it overnight. It's actually set for more like 16 or 18 hours. But I'm just going to wipe off the excess and then kind of buff it out a little bit, and then we'll see what it looks like. So hang on just a moment while I'm actually going to use a paper towel to just get the most of this off, and then I'll buff it out with a cloth. I knew when I put all this on I was putting on way too much, but I figured I wanted to make sure that it had plenty on there to soak up overnight because the board was in such bad shape. If I was going to do this, I actually used some of this on the butcher block top on my island, and I didn't let it sit hardly at all. And it worked great. I also did not need, I don't know, even a fraction of what I put on here. Hey buddy, I'm just cleaning up my mess from yesterday. I am. Alright, I got the worst of it off, so I am going to go through, and I'm actually going to buff out the bottom of it first right now, just because then when I put it back down, I don't have to worry about getting stuff all over the top that I have just, you know, buffed out and made look pretty. I am super pleased with how this came out because it just looks so much nicer. Like, I'm going to put a before and after on here, but holy crap. I mean, it really made a big difference. Way more than I thought it was going to. Like, I knew it would look better, but I didn't think it would look this much better. And you wouldn't think that buffing it out would make that much difference, but it also makes a difference. I mean, it really makes a difference in how it looks. I mean, look at that. And I'm going to take, actually, well, I'm got it turned over already. I'm just going to take a wipe which I know these things are like gold, so, you know. I'm just going to take a wipe and do right on the bottom of the rubber foot to get any residue off of the rubber feet. I tried, I wasn't really worried about it, and you shouldn't be. Just wipe it off just a little bit and it'll be fine. Hey, bud. And I have little hands helping me, obviously. Alright, so now we've done the bottom. Now we can do the edges and the top. And you see, like, I'll have to wipe the counter down, but the freezer paper really helps keep down the mess so that I don't have wax all over the countertops, which is a good thing, you know, for obvious reasons. You can get it off, but it's just a pain. If I had this to do over again, I would probably have spent way more time on the edges, because I did get a splinter when I was spreading all the stuff on the very edge the other day, but that was my fault. I am doing this early in the morning, so there's not such great light coming through the window, but you can still see how much difference this makes. I mean, this thing looks like 300% better. I'm so pleased with this. All right. So, I don't know, can you see? I will put a before and after picture, a much better one, because I'm doing this and the kitchen light's on and it's morning, so there's not a lot of light, natural light in this room. But even so, I mean, I'm sure you can see. This is a whole lot better looking than when we started. And you can still see, like I said, you can still see the scratches in it. It was a cutting board, it was used. I could have sandaled this way down probably, but it would have taken more effort than I was willing to put in at the time. I'm going to use this on like all of my wooden stuff, and we'll see how that goes. It did such a nice job. I don't think that this is something you need to use like every day. I would think this is a pretty hefty thing to do, and it takes a while. I would probably do it every like 3 to 6 months, depending on how much you use your items. Like, I use my wooden spoons every day. I use one of the cutting boards every day. A couple of them are smaller or bigger, and I don't use them every day, so maybe I do those every 6 months. If it looks like it needs it, then do it. I don't think it's something you need to do, like I said, super frequently, but it really made a difference here. I mean, look at this. It's such a nice cutting board now. So, I will leave a link in the description. So I will leave a link in the description to the blog post that will have the exact measurements, even though I've already said them, and I'll put them into the description, but I'll still leave a link to the blog post in case you want to pin it or save it for later or anything like that. You could get little tins to put these in. The mason jar works just fine. And this should last you a while. I think if I was going to make it again, like, I used a whole lot of this on this cutting board, but I used, I mean, maybe like $50 size amount on my butcher block island, and it's a small island, but you really don't need very much if you rub it in, and it's a well-used cutting board. you know, you're not going to need tons to make it look pretty. This one was really, it needed some help. So we put a whole lot on there because I felt like it needed it, and I think it did the job. So I would put a little bit on there, rub it in, leave it. Don't worry if it's got streaks or if there's too much. Leave it overnight, buff it all out, and then you can use it. So I think this is great, and this will probably end up on the rotation as something I make for Christmas gifts, especially for my foodie friends, with a nice wooden spoon or something, or a cutting board. That'd be a great gift for somebody. It doesn't have to be for Christmas. It could be a birthday present, a hostess gift, any of those things. So thanks for watching, and I will see you next time. There's going to be a what I ate for dinner recipe video next, I hope. I keep like filming one video and then forgetting to film the rest for the week, so we're going to try. But thanks for watching. Please subscribe and leave a comment and like the video.